having trouble knowing how to prepare for a speech, then this video is the one that you need to watch. Do you find preparing for a speech a little bit of a headache? You're filled with lots of different emotions, you're worried about what you're going to say, and you're not sure if the audience will like your speech. Today I'm going to show you exactly how I prepared for a recent speech that I did. These tips are super simple, easy to follow, and it'll make the whole process way less stressful. Hi, my name is Emily and I help you become more confident with speaking. When you're delivering a speech, there is no such thing as being too prepared. The more prepared you are, the easier it will be on stage because it's one less thing to worry about. You'll be so confident in your material that the only thing you need to worry about is using that clicker to change the slide. Let me tell you a little bit of the backstory. Out of all of the speeches I had done, I think this one was one of the toughest ones because there was lots of things that happened before the speech that I didn't actually consider. And when you stand up on stage to speak for 20 minutes, this can be quite hard, especially if you are in a state of panic. Those 20 minutes can feel even longer. But I think one of the things that saved me in the speech was the content of the speech itself. So the topic that I was talking about was my life story, and that essentially was quite easy. And I'm glad looking back, I had drilled in the key points and read through the script multiple times because it's so scary when you're in that moment and your mind goes completely blank and you have nothing to say. And when you panic, you don't breathe. And when you don't breathe, your brain goes into survival mode of how it can get more air into your body. If you want to know what speech I'm referring to, click on the link above here, where I talk about overcoming my struggles and how I became confident. So, this was the last week before Christmas, and at this point I had completely given up on the year. I had an awful second half of 2024. I didn't want any stress. I just wanted to wind down for Christmas. But my mentor was so enthusiastic about me doing this speech. She contacted a lady who ran this Christmas event, and we ended up booking a call for Monday afternoon. And she told me in this meeting that I'll be performing this speech on Friday at 1 p.m, which was in 4 days' time. Now, in my mind, I was really excited to be given this opportunity because it was a really great way to end the year, but I was also shitting myself that I had very little preparation time because I was still working the Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, and I was thinking to myself, how am I going to prepare for this 20-minute speech? Because it wasn't like a podcast or they had a host where they could ask you questions to break up the speaking time. I was constantly going to be talking for 20 minutes straight. All of these questions suddenly popped into my mind, which actually made the planning of the speech afterwards so much easier. So the first question I asked her was, what did she want me to talk about? Because even though I'm the speaker, there is always an agenda or a theme at the event, and the organisers generally know what they want me to say. And for me, I always want to know as much detail as possible. I want to know if there is a speaker before me or after me, so we don't talk about the same topic. And if we do talk about something similar, then I can reference that in my speech. I also want to know about the setup, whether there's a microphone, a speaker, if I'll be on stage. But another important thing that I ask is who is in the audience, because whatever I say, I want it to resonate. I want the audience to understand. Otherwise, there is really no point of me doing the speech. And because this was a Christmas event, it was likely that children will be attending the event, so therefore I couldn't swear or have any content that was too dark. When I got off the call, I quickly mapped out how much time I had left. I disregarded the Friday because theoretically that was the day that I was supposed to be ready, and I can't be writing my script when I'm about to perform because that will send my brain into complete meltdown, and I'm that kind of person who likes to be prepared. For me, I personally don't like using notes on stage when I speak because I'm a dyslexic, and it will actually take me a lot longer to look down at my notes, know where I am, which point I'm on, and then read those notes out loud. All that faff, in my opinion, isn't worth it. So I had 3.5 days, including the Monday evening, to prepare for my speech. On the Monday evening, I knew I had to come up with the ideas, and by Thursday, I should have had the whole script memorized. I got out my notebook and I brain dumped all of the ideas that I had. I left all of my ideas to simmer into Tuesday and see if I could gain more inspiration throughout the day whilst I was working. On the Tuesday evening, I looked at the whole list of ideas on that page and I started to combine different ideas that would work well together. I paired different ideas to see where they would fit in terms of structure. I always like to think of a speech like a story. It has the beginning, middle, and the end. And there always has to be some kind of plot or theme. And the theme for my speech was confidence. By then, I had a general gist of the story. I knew what I wanted to say at the beginning, what I wanted to talk about in the middle, and how I would end the speech. However, everything was still in my head, and because nothing had been written down yet, all of my thoughts weren't quite solidified. Tuesday turned into Wednesday, and this was where I was stressing because I had planned to have memorized the whole entire script by Thursday evening. And I was thinking to myself, how is this even going to be possible? Because this speech isn't actually a speech yet. It's just ideas with some kind of structure. However, because it had structure, it was progress compared to Monday. I then started writing my script because I wanted to hear what it sounded like. A great tip for when I'm writing any of my speeches is that I say my sentences out loud whilst I am writing it or typing it out. Number 1, by saying it out loud, you'll have a completely different tone of voice compared to when you're writing it silently in your head. Number 2, it saves you time redrafting the script. And number 3, when you're saying it out loud, you know what sounds right. The words you use are going to be the words you say in real life. For example, if you don't say the word integrated and you don't know what it means, it feels unnatural and it sounds bizarre, then don't use it. Use a different word. Everybody has their own bank of vocabulary, and what you say is very different to somebody else. I still felt like I had a lot to do, and I also had to think about transitions. Now, transitions are super important because it links your last paragraph to your next paragraph. We always want the story to flow, and in a speech you want it to seem natural and not clunky. So you don't want to be saying phrases like, next we're going to be talking about this, or now we're going to move on to this. Transitions are really helpful in helping you remember the next thing you have to say, because you can plant a word in the sentence to propel you into the next trail of thought. For example, if you're talking about flowers as your first topic, and then you want to move on to another topic, say summer, then you can use a transition word to link the two topics together. So it could be something like this. We saw a 20% drop in the production of these red flowers. It took some time for them to grow because of the weather in summer. In the summer months, you can see on the chart, blah, 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 blah. So you can see the word time is the transition word that links the topic flowers and summer together. I don't know why I chose the example about flowers because I know nothing about gardening, but if you're liking this video, hit that like button if you haven't already. Wednesday turned into Thursday and I still hadn't finished writing my script, so I was frantically trying to put everything together. Once I did that, I looked at my script and it was just over 3 pages long, which seemed about right because normally each page is 5 to 7 minutes worth of speaking time. I timed it, it was perfectly fine, but it was going to be a challenge to memorize it all. I printed out the whole script and I was reading the script out loud as many times as I could. But by this point, I knew I wasn't going to remember the script word for word. So I took a different approach because I knew time really wasn't on my side. I wrote down these 13 words, one word for each point I wanted to say in my speech. Now, these words won't make any sense to you, but as a speaker, it definitely resonated with me. I remembered these 13 words, and these 13 words were a complete lifesaver because it helped me think about the exact thing that I wanted to say next, just like the transitions. Then it was Friday. In the morning, I looked at the script, I read it out loud over and over again. I looked over the 13 words I made for myself. I knew the structure. I just trusted the entire process of how I put the script together. So I did a little vocal warm-up at home and then I travelled to the location. But when I arrived at the location, there were a few hiccups. There were technical issues in the room with the stage, so they were trying to find me a place where I could do my speech. Hence, I was in the foyer of the Christmas market. And this actually had so many challenges because there was no seated audience and people were coming to watch my speech in all different directions. I had half an hour to set up my camera, to record myself and everything else that I needed. And whatever time I had left, I was belly breathing as much as possible to keep myself grounded. If I hadn't have put in as much preparation into the speech, then I don't think I would have coped with the amount of changes just before I was about to speak. So yes, I do recommend anyone to prepare for their speech rather than winging it on the day. But I hope you found all of these tips useful on how to prepare for a speech. If you learned something new today, hit that subscribe button because I'll be posting more videos like this.